Hey, rock stars, if your fab shop's overwhelmed or your supplier's missing deadlines, that's not just frustrating, it's costing you real money. That's why you call HyperFab. Based in Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada, and trusted across North America, they deliver custom metal fabrication for industries where precision and speed matter most. Construction, oil and gas, manufacturing, and agriculture. From fiber laser cutting and CNC bending to welding, assembly, and finishing, they do it all in-house with fast turnarounds, tight tolerances, and no handoffs. One prototype, full production, no problem. HyperFab shows up when others can't and delivers when others don't. Head to www.hyperfab.com or call Colin Harms at 1-403-308-3308. Fabrication without compromise. That's the HyperFab edge. I never cease to be impressed by the incredible guests who grace our stage, but Daniel Monzon may be among the most exceptional. His story is one of grit, courage, and an unwavering refusal to accept limitations. Daniel has climbed mountains with one arm and one leg, built companies from the ground up, and devoted his life to empowering immigrant and underrepresented founders across Canada. Through Catapult Startups, he is opening doors, creating opportunity, and reshaping the entrepreneurial landscape one leader at a time. This is a conversation that will challenge you, inspire you, and remind you of what is possible when resilience meets purpose. Stick with us. You won't want to miss this episode.
The great Mark Cuban once said, "Business happens over years and years. Value is measured in the total upside of a business relationship, not by how much you squeezed out in any one deal." And we couldn't agree more. This is the Business Development Podcast, based in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and broadcasting to the world. You'll get expert business development advice, tips and experiences, and you'll hear interviews with business owners, CEOs, and business development reps. You'll get actionable advice on how to grow business. Brought to you by Capital Business Development, capitalbd.ca. Let's do it. Welcome to the Business Development Podcast. And now your expert host, Kelly Kennedy.
Hello, welcome to episode 294 of the Business Development Podcast. And today, it is my absolute pleasure to bring to you Daniel Monzon. He is a trailing entrepreneur and an advocate for underrepresented communities, whose work is reshaping the entrepreneurial landscape in Alberta and beyond. As the CEO and co-founder of Catapult Startups, a not-for-profit accelerator, Daniel is dedicated to empowering immigrant, refugee, and minority entrepreneurs to overcome systemic barriers and launch thriving businesses. Under his leadership, Catapult Startups is committed to helping 200 small and medium-sized enterprises take root by 2032, creating 5,000 jobs and contributing $3 billion in direct GDP to the Alberta economy. With its focus on mentorship, funding support, and tailored business resources, Catapult Startups is not just fostering individual success, it's driving economic growth and innovation at scale. Daniel's passion for creating pathways to success is deeply personal. Born in Lima, Peru, and raised in Calgary, Alberta, he is drawn from his own challenges to champion resilience and opportunity for others. In addition to his work with Catapult, Daniel founded Creative Social, an IT services firm dedicated to helping small and medium-sized businesses navigate the digital transformation. His dedication extends to volunteer work with organizations like Shriners Hospital and the Calgary Catholic Immigration Society, where he supports newcomers in building professional skills. Through Catapult Startups, Daniel is not just helping to launch businesses. He's creating a legacy of empowerment, and redefining economic opportunity for future generations. Daniel, wow, it is an honor to have you on the show today.
Thanks, Clay. I appreciate that. I just want to make one thing clear. With the Shriners, I used to volunteer with them when I was going to the Shriners Hospital. And one of the things that I would do, I actually do translations. So any kid coming in from a country that couldn't speak English, I would literally be the one translating to them with the doctors and nurses and things like that. So I should have
Wow.
edited that. Apologies for that, but I just wanted to clarify that one there.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. I appreciate the clarification. And like I said, either way, you're doing some pretty big things. It's an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And yeah, excited to get going.
Absolutely. Catapult Startups is something that's been on my list for a while. I've been trying to do an Alberta ecosystem series. So basically, from the beginning of the business development podcast, I've had the pleasure of meeting with quite a few different organizations across Alberta. And this was just one that I needed to get off the list. And when I met you, I was like, wow, we really need to talk.
No, I'm glad. I'm glad we're talking. And also, I'm glad that not glad, but thank you for your patience. It's taken quite a while for us to get a communicate and get going. I know you reached out to me like last year, and I finally had the time to now start talking to you. So apologies for that. Like I was, like I communicated earlier, forms are my Achilles heel. But
Yeah.
now we have a bigger team and I'm working with that to speed up that process. But so I appreciate your patience and thank you for welcoming me to your show.
Yeah, no, not a problem. Actually, you hold a record, at least at this point in time. You hold a record for like the longest time between an initial conversation and an actual recording at a full year later. And the funny thing is, Daniel, we're actually recording almost a full year ahead. So by the time people are hearing this show, me and you have been in conversation for 2 years to make it happen.
Yeah, so it will be really interesting. It's how some things go sometimes.
Yeah.
Again, really excited to be here, and hey, let's get the show going.
I think the lesson here really just is that nothing happens as fast as you hope it would in business.
No, it's true. And the other one too, it's just because you lost touch or you lost connection with somebody else doesn't mean you can't re-engage with them. Because I remember putting you in a red flag and always looking at that email. I'm like, all right, I gotta get this done today. And
Yeah.
I think the funny thing is, I think we booked it, or I booked it in August or July of last year, but
Yes.
you were already so booked. But
Yeah.
the only time was January, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm in January, right?
That's where we're at. Yeah.
But I'm glad I did it then instead of waiting for January of this year, and then God knows who knows when we'll be talking by then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, we are, I don't want to say it's a blessing and a curse. We're blessed on this show to have so many people who want to come on it. And unfortunately, the downside to that is I want to have them on, but I have to wait, until sometimes a year to get their show out. But the cool thing about the business development podcast is that the conversations are pretty much evergreen, relevant always. Like the lessons we learn from, experts like yourself, they're just as relevant 5-10 years from today as they are today. So it's cool that like, even though we are a ways into the future, the lessons are still hot and fresh typically by the time they come out.
For sure, exactly.
Dude, take us back to the beginning. You're a serial entrepreneur, but that clearly couldn't have always been the case. Who is Daniel Monzon? How did you end up on this entrepreneurial journey? Take us back to the very beginning.
That's a good question. I would say, honestly, what came out of creating an opportunity, creating a niche. Funny enough, going through university, I really, really applied myself somewhere, I'll be honest. But the biggest thing I tried to do was get into those internship programs. That's how I would recommend anybody in university right now, if you're post-secondary or college or whatever, try to get into an internship program. An internship program essentially will give you work experience while you're going to school and give you a better chance when you're out of university to land a job you're looking for within your field, right? So one of the things I was doing is essentially trying to get into these internship programs, but then also executive programs. Now, these executive programs are programs that you get that they put you in as a path to be an executive. Most of them tend to be from large energy companies. And I was talking to two currently, and I ended up making a final like I guess step or interview process with one of them. And I won't say the name because they were really great with me. They were honest and upfront. That's the biggest thing I think in business is if you're honest and upfront, it's okay, but you have to be honest and upfront. And they had the decency to bring me in. We had a conversation. It's a tough conversation, but they were like, Daniel, for you to go into an executive program because you gotta go in the field and switch every quarter, every 3 months, you would cost us, our insurance cost would be too high. It's unfortunate. We looked at it every way possible we could do it, but we just can't get around it. but at least had the decency to bring me in and have this as a proper conversation. It wasn't an email, it wasn't a phone call, it wasn't a text, it was a one-on-one face-to-face. And for that, I will always give them thanks.
Yeah.
Not the answer I wanted to hear, but
Mm-hmm.
at least they were able to communicate that. So from that, at that point, I was like, okay, if that path is closed, what other paths can I go through? So I started applying and going to and working for small businesses. And in small businesses, you wear multiple hats. You learn very quickly. Even if you're applying for an account manager position or a business development position or an operations position,
Yeah.
or a coordinator or anything like that, if it's entry level, you're going to quickly go into wearing multiple hats. It's just how it is. And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And I did that for about, I would say 5 years when I started thinking, I'm like, you know what? I can do this for myself. And it was like the initial thought was there, but I feel like, okay, I could, but I need so much capital, I need so much this and that and that. I would make excuses why I couldn't do it. It wasn't until I would say I started volunteering for TEDx Calgary,
Yeah.
that I met a couple individuals. The biggest one was, say, Keith McDonald. He's one of my mentors, and he was like, "Hey, Daniel, what you're trying to do here, because I essentially communicated TEDx Calgary at the time, it's like, I think 13 or 14 years ago, maybe not 15 years ago now, how to quantify social media." Because they were doing an event. They're like, "Hey, here's how you quantify social media, and here's how you drive, traffic into your website, and how you can track sales costs as well, right?
Yeah.
And you can see, and you can have a return on investment on which channel, whether that's media, text, graphic, or is giving you the more bang for your buck, right?" And they were like, "That's you do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, just simply quantifying," and I show them all this. And he was like, Keith was saying, "Hey, there's something here." He at the time worked for Shell in the operations/human department area
Yeah.
but he was, I think, stationed out in the Netherlands for a couple of LNG projects, right? But he
Okay.
saw what I was doing, and he was like, "There's something here. You should try to develop a business." And I was like, "Really, you think so?" And I was like, "I think I would need to give 10 free clients or something like that, or for it to get traction, because I need to build, some credibility validation." They're like, "Daniel, no, you're ready. Go for it. Right? Start putting an ad, put in some marketing collateral, things like that, and get going." So with that, I was like, okay, I still was hesitant until literally I got a phone call. From those meetings, got a phone call saying, "You've been highly recommended. We know that social media, how to quantify it. We're looking to someone to jump into this startup
Yeah.
to kind of focus on communications and be that driver. Would you be interested?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So I jumped in, and essentially I've never looked back. That was, yeah, now 13, maybe 4, no, longer. Wow, 16, 15, around 14 years ago, that I haven't had to write a resume. And I think that's the best part I enjoy about this whole thing.
Yes.
Because it's just so tedious.
Yeah.
But I love writing project proposals. That's a whole different thing, because you're writing a project, working on a project or a business, right? So it's a
Yeah.
whole different area. And yeah, it's literally changing that mindset. Instead of spending time on writing resumes, spending time on writing proposals. And yeah, I kind of never looked back. I mean, they gave me a call. They're thinking, "You're interested in this project." I took on the project. That's when I learned about really doing your due diligence on the entrepreneur hand. They were building a really cool little product. The product was like a lantern that gets powered by salt water.
Oh, cool.
The inventor, the CEO,
Yeah.
signed an agreement with the investor. So when the money came in, that it could only be marketed to doomsday people or preppers.
Mm.
So I was like, so you're literally, sorry for the pun, but you're literally tying one arm behind my back,
Yeah.
because you just helping me tell me we should focus on one tiny section of the population
Yeah.
that characteristically isn't going to be online, doesn't
Yeah.
want to be found. How are you going to market to them? And the funny thing is, we would get consultants from California that were $40,000 and New York that were $50,000, and they would all say, this is a tech product. Why are you targeting it to teenagers, to parents, as a camping product, tech camping product? You can charge your batteries, it can provide you light, you can charge your phones, you can watch, iPad and watch movies. You should promote it as that.
Yeah.
But because of the contract and the stipulation, there's nothing we could do.
Wow.
So, well, yeah, lesson learned. Like, do your due diligence before you join a team,
Yeah.
what you're signing up to. And I guess the investor thought that maybe he can make a work around it. Maybe he can eventually convince him. But once you sign something, the inventor had him over. It's like, there's nothing you can do. You signed it. You gave me the funding.
Yeah.
You're managing the team, which is your job to do. But it says here, you can only market it Weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I understand the reasoning behind that. Like, what investor
He,
wouldn't want to sell it to the broadest spectrum
uh,
of people
the, the,
possible?
the, the thing I want to say is this, and I'll say with a grain of salt. Entrepreneurs, when they're starting out, they tend to use this phrase, and to me, it's a red flag. Oh, this is my baby. No, it's not your baby. Your child is your baby. That's just a business, and business come and go all the time. But they are so protective of the idea that they think it's the best idea in the world. They're not willing to listen to feedback. They're not willing to listen to just criticism, constructive criticism, and they're not open minded to see revenue generation. They feel that, no, you're not communicating my message properly enough because a product as it is, it's so wonderful and great. And it's like, nobody cares about your product. I'm sorry to say this, unless people are willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
You could care for your product, and that's great and dandy. I applaud you. But if you can't find customers that are willing to pay a dollar value,
Yeah.
exchange actual cash for your product or service, I'm sorry, you have nothing. And with Catapult, what we're doing, because we do talk to entrepreneurs and we talk to them, early stage sometimes, whether they're launching a startup or a small business. Some of them are really good head on their shoulders. They understand business, they understand processes, and they're also willing to admit what they don't know, which is why they're talking to us. But
Yeah.
others are so adamant that, no, my idea is the best and it's all about the technology. I'm like, great, but what is the business model? How are you making money? And they get stuck on that. Like, they don't know how to make money. And that's a very frustration part for me.
Yeah, and you see that a lot in startups, and I think because a lot of startups are university students, right? Like they have incredible ideas, but they haven't necessarily spent a lot of time in the business world. And so, I mean, I've interviewed quite a few different mentors for startup founders over the show on this show over time, and I noticed that that's a problem that comes up pretty consistently is that they build a product without thinking of who's going to buy it. They just assume, well, I have this great product, somebody's going to want to buy it. But they're not building a product to solve a problem. They're building a product and then trying to find a problem to solve with it, right?
Exactly. And it makes no sense. Like, and this is where you have to have the honest conversation with yourself. And this is what I mean by this. Entrepreneurship or starting a small business or running a company, it's like you're flying a plane as you're building it while it's on fire and you're putting out the fire. If you're comfortable with that, perfect. And the other thing too is you have to feel comfortable operating at 80%. What does that mean? Nothing's ever going to be perfect. And I deal with so many entrepreneurs. They're like, well, we need our product to be perfect. It needs to be perfect. I'm like, why? Well, we want it to be perfect so then we can talk to clients. And I'm like, you haven't talked to clients yet? No. And I'm like, how much have you spent on this perfect product?
Yeah.
Oh, $200,000. So you spent $200,000, which I'm assuming it's either your own money or grant money. And let's say it's grant money, you spend time and resources to write those grants. There's money behind that. And you spend time building this thing, but you haven't had the time to talk to up to 100 potential clients to figure out what features or things, or even if they're interested in this product. I'll give you a quick example. Okay. Have you heard of Pet Rock or the Pet Rock in the 80s?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Pet Rock, horrible idea. Anybody that said, oh, Pet Rock, that's a dumb idea. Me and you can say it's a dumb idea all day. Everybody can say it's a dumb idea all day. But you know what doesn't make it a dumb idea? The fact that guy made $1 million in revenue and sales because people were willing to give him cash. So someone out there was willing to give out cash. And anybody listening to this podcast, please Google Pet Rock. You're going to laugh. Trust me on this. It's literally any rock you can find out there in the park. It would just come in a little box and they would put googly eyes and little things you can stick to it so you can decorate your rock. And it became your pet rock.
Yeah.
And they charge this to people. This was, you can find them at Toys R Us, Walmart, superstores, anywhere.
Wow.
But they validated the idea that people were willing to pay for that.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a problem that I see with a lot of young entrepreneurs, students. They're a little scared or intimidated to talk to customers, potential customers. And you don't need a lot of money or resources to validate an idea. It can be a simple Facebook post, LinkedIn post, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, saying, hey, we're building this or we're creating this. Would you pay for it? Yes or no? Just do a quick test run. See how many people say yes or no.
Yeah.
And if you come to yourself like, oh, well, people said no because I don't think they understood our value proposition. Well, there are two things. Either A, you're communicating piss poorly, or B, no, they understood it and they don't want to buy it. They're not
Yeah.
willing to give you money for that idea. I'm sorry. Like we worked with one entrepreneur who had a really good idea. We thought had a good idea. It was about understanding notifications and seeing when a system would go down so you would miss out on notifications that would conventionally cost you money because of emails and things like that. When we talked to him, he was telling us, and he was very upfront and honest, like, hey, Daniel, I'm starting this out, but I want to talk to accelerators and incubators to figure out which one's the right one for me while I'm doing my validation process.
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. A month later, he comes back to us. Hey, Daniel, I want to let you know what I found out of the validation. Cool idea, but there's no way I can make money of it because I cannot scale it. I'm like, hey, nothing wrong with that. You had the idea, you validated it quickly, you tested it out. You're like, yeah, there's no way I can make money of this. The market's not ready for it. Perfect. You put it to rest. You didn't try to force something that wasn't there. You did your due diligence, and you were able to put your ego aside. Hey, this is not going to work. It's okay. Let's put it aside.
Yeah. No, it's at least they did. Most people would just still keep trucking forward. I know it's hard. It's hard to have an idea and think that it could work and then find out that maybe it's not the right time. And I do think that in a lot of cases, that's all it is. It's not the right time. I think many ideas are excellent, but you have to wait for the time for it to work. And I think that's kind of the kicker to it.
Exactly. I mean, an example of that is Tebow. Tebow went out in the 90s and early 2000s. It could literally record your TVs. It was early AI, if you think about it. It would understand your patterns of watching TVs, and it would start recording the shows that you think you might want to watch, but you having to click record.
Yeah.
But people were like, hold on, that's too scary. We're not ready for it. No one bought it. It's still one of the best manufactured products out there, bar none. But the people weren't ready for it. Now it's a joke. It's a verb, Tebow. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm 40, turning 41 this year, so people might know who Tebow is, but
well, you're absolutely right. Because I remember at the time being like, oh, that's kind of a cool idea, like the whole idea of a DVR. But now they're just like, they're gone. Like that whole thing just missed. I think Blu-ray is also, if we want to talk about something that was like really cool, but just short-lived, just Blu-ray, right? Like, sure, we still have, you can go buy a Blu-ray video, but who in the world is buying Blu-ray videos anymore, right? It's kind of too bad because it was like the pinnacle of discs, right? But its lifespan was what, 5 years tops?
And that's the thing though. Now you look at some companies that, okay, they invested or betted on Blu-ray, PlayStations, Sony's, video game systems that instead of putting DVD, they put it the Blu-ray so then you can play the games and watch Blu-rays. But now Blu-rays no longer exist. Now some of them you can still do a streaming system on them with your PlayStation and Xbox or whatever. But again, it's the means that changed, right? I mean, if you think about it, enough streaming services nowadays it's on-demand watching. It's video on demand. You watch when you want to. I mean, the days of Saturday morning cartoons are gone. Right? I remember when it was like Saturday morning cartoons, 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. I set time to watch those cartoons. Now you can watch them whenever you want.
Yeah, no, me too. Honestly, dude, I'm so disappointed with it because like my kids, I want them to love Saturday morning cartoons, right? But they're like, Dad, I can watch cartoons anytime. There's no such thing as Saturday morning cartoons. Like, it's too bad, really. It's too bad.
They don't know what they're missing. And it might sound a little silly, but I think it builds a little bit of discipline. Here's what I mean by that, okay? So you go to school Monday to Friday, and your parents are waking up. At least for me, they're like, "Wake up, go to school." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to. I'm sleepy. I don't want to go. Like, please leave me alone." Yet on a Saturday morning, because it's what I wanted, that cartoon that I wanted to watch, I was willing to internally just wake up at 5 a.m., go downstairs in the kitchen, pour myself a bowl of cereal, milk, watch some Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
But now you correlate that to like, okay, business world, I want something. You're going to have to get up early to go get it. Early bird gets so warm. And I think a lot of us who live in that area, I feel that, waking up early might be tough, but if it's something that we want, we're able to almost, how can I put it, attach ourselves to that feeling or emotion of like, hey, Saturday morning cartoon, something we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And we were able to do it. So let's go back here. Hey, this early meeting or this project or this whatever, me getting early is going to help me achieve that goal or get what I want, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know, and again, maybe it's an assumption. I don't know, people that didn't grow up with Saturday morning cartoons, is that damaging in that aspect? Are they not maybe getting that training, quote unquote, when they were young
Yeah.
to wake up early because to get a reward?
As humans, we love instant gratification, don't we?
We do. We do.
And that's the world they're growing up in, man. For better, for worse, who knows? I have no idea. What I can say is we gave them tablets initially, learned our lessons, ended up fighting to take the tablets back. And now we have a tablet-free household. So it is possible, but I don't know, man. It's hard. It's really hard because now the fight is, trying to get them off YouTube. And I think the argument for me with YouTube is it's not YouTube. It's the crap on YouTube that's for kids.
Yeah.
Like, it's the people that are marketing all these games and all this other garbage to kids. That's like, oh, like I don't hate YouTube. I love YouTube, but I love YouTube to learn things. And I want my kids to love YouTube to learn things, not to just watch a bunch of idiots do dumb things.
And I will agree with you on that. I think we all had a time when we looked at stupid stuff on the internet to laugh, but at the same time,
Totally.
you do want to make a balance,
Yeah.
within what you're learning and what you're being entertained with.
Oh my God. I love that you touched on that because, dude, you're absolutely right. I look back to like when I was a kid and we'd watch like, I don't know, miniclip.com or something like that and just watch like stupid videos all day long. And it's no different. But the adult Kelly is just like, that's such a waste of time. You guys got to do something better with your time. Watch something more educational. But it's like, you completely get disconnected with the fact that you did the exact same thing at the dawn of the internet.
And exactly. And maybe just to touch that to a little bit, like there's nothing wrong. So like everybody takes a different journey in business, right? I would consider myself an extremely late bloomer. I'm 40 now, turning 41 this year. I got a top 40 under 40 when I was 39, like
That's
the last
crazy.
year possible.
Yeah.
I got married at 40. I'm having my kid at 40. I would say that I've I feel not comfortable under my own shoes and my own skin in any kind of situation. I would say starting around maybe 35. I think around that age I was extremely sure of myself.
Yeah.
But I would consider myself a late bloomer. Now, I look back because I'm gonna again sorry people that might not know out there, but I'm having a kid pretty soon with my wife, end of January, beginning of February. So I'm been thinking about my kid and what I'm gonna try to teach him and tell him. And one of those things I was looking back at what I was doing in my 20s and my in late teens, and it's like, yeah, okay, I went to university, but I wasted a lot of time just doing stupid stuff that I'm just looking back. I'm like, I wish I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm like, okay, would that made me the person that I am today? Because even though I felt that it didn't maybe give me the, how can I put it, the quote unquote corporate experience that I needed to polish that.
Yeah.
I think what it did give me, it gave me an understanding of how the actual world works. It gave me an understanding how people are, which is really important because you don't deal with businesses, we deal with people.
Correct.
And sometimes I think when we think of, I can fathom someone doing that, and then that happens, is because we don't understand people. Right? I think sometimes we can be in a bubble, right? So looking back at all the dumb things that I've done and putting myself in the dumb situations, whether that's partying or whatever, hanging out with your friends, and you look at the different surroundings or experiences that you had that maybe prepared you for a situation where looking back, it can be like, yeah, I dealt with a lot of fires that I had to put out with, a lot of situations that I had to like right away think fast on my feet quickly and make executive decisions that maybe because of those experiences prepare me for me today, right?
Yeah.
That I'm ready to take on this challenge. Instead of maybe like, hey, if I were to go down, I may say more that traditional 8 to 5 kind of job scale, maybe I would have been already molded into like, no, I can only work 8 to 5 because I'm comfortable working. It's not a comfortable thing, but I try to keep it to 8 hours, but realistically, it's sometimes 10 to 12 hours because I'm working on multiple things.
Yeah.
But I do make sure to spend time with the family. Family time is family time, right? But there's a lot of time, there's a lot of downtime that looking back and you're trying to assess, like, what was I doing all those years or all that time? And you're like, what the hell? Right?
I know.
And then you figure out how you can manage so many things and so quickly because you get used to making decisions, high level decisions really quickly. So again, Forrest my Achilles heel, but you ask me for a strategy or ask me a forecast or for a hard hitting question, I'm like, yeah, boom, done. Next question. Let's go ahead. Right? We made an executive decision. We can put it to bed. I'm comfortable saying it was my fault. Or I'm comfortable giving the other person praise. At the end of the day, if you make it about yourself, no one really likes you. If you always work with a team and give praise to the other people, they'll always want to work with you. And if you always take the blame, it's because, hey, you're the CEO, your buck end stops with you, right? You
Yeah.
cannot blame anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. I can definitely resonate with you kind of saying like, I'm a bit of a late bloomer. I started my business at 30. So I am right
There
there
you
with
go.
you. But you know what? Here's the thing. Here's my belief. My belief is there's never a wrong time to start a business. You're never too old or too young to start a business. And it was my time and it was your time. And we needed whatever we needed to get to the point where we were prepared mentally, physically, whatever, to take that leap, because starting a business takes bravery, it takes courage, and it takes a little bit of trust in the universe, I think.
It does. You need to feel comfortable with risk. Like,
Yes.
and just to, I think for me, one thing that I did that I can always look back at, and whenever I have faced with a tough decision, a tough challenge, something that I think quote unquote is impossible,
Yeah.
I look back to this moment. I climbed Huayna Picchu. So that Huayna Picchu is a mountain next to Machu Picchu.
Wow.
Now, people on this podcast might not know this, or I don't know if you listen to the
They
bio.
don't know yet,
But
unless they
yeah,
know you.
exactly, is that I was born with one arm and one leg. So I climbed the Huayna Picchu with one arm and one leg.
Wow.
This kind of pissed me off a little bit. I was, I think, the 20th person to do it that had a disability.
Yeah.
That's what pissed me off. I was hoping maybe it could be like the 5th, like the
Okay.
10th, but I was like
You're
the
like,
20th.
sorry, you're 20.
I was like, okay. So there was a lady who
Yeah.
climbed the Huayna Picchu, and she only had one limb. And I was like, holy crap. So she was like
Wow.
the person on one limb. And I'm like, that's like record breaking.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, for 2 limbs, you're like the 20th person with 2 limbs who has climbed that mountain.
Yeah.
And the thing with that mountain, it's you sign a waiver when you go up, because if you fall down, they're not going to search for you. They're not going to find you. And no amount of money that you may have is going to help, because the jungle eats you. There
Wow.
has been cases where people will get lost going up, or get out of the trail, or fall down. And they might come from very affluential families with little capital, and they'll bring on the capital, they'll bring in rescue teams and everything, but you don't find the people, you don't find the person, because that jungle eats you, right? So literally, I signed this waiver. It takes you an hour to go up the mountain, an hour down. I did it in an hour and a half up, hour and a half back, so half an hour extra both ways.
Yeah.
And I trained for about a year.
Wow.
Everybody in my family was like, don't do it. You're going to die. You're going to fall. And I'm like, no, I'm going to be prepared.
Mhm.
It's a risk, but it's a very prepared risk. I even went to the point that I would watch YouTube videos of people climbing that mountain, like 2 hours long,
Yeah.
to seeing where all the barriers are going to be. There's a large boulder where the metal rope is broken, which is essentially all the whole way up. So you learn not to hold onto it, because that's how people slip or fall.
I see.
And really understanding where, okay, this face is where I'm going to have to cut my arm. There's no other ways about it. I'm going to grab here, scrape my arm. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I did it all the way up, and remember doing it and coming back. And the feeling that I got, I'm like, if I did that, I can do anything. I remember texting my dad, and my dad was like, holy, I can't believe you did that.
Yeah.
And he's not very kind of like rah-rah kind of guy. But he
Mhm.
texted me like, Daniel, you're a champion. You have a heart of a champion. I don't know how you did that. But
Wow.
now I take that feeling of me going up and down, getting
Yes.
prepared, readiness, the risk associated too, and you got to push through. And the funny thing too about that climb is that morning, because we did it at 6 a.m., I was sick the day before. I was
No way.
popping Tylenol, no, black market Tylenol, whatever I could find
Oh,
in a
no.
little small town. It's whatever. Okay, it's small. It is Tylenol. It wasn't. It was
Yeah.
Tylenol, but different brand of Tylenol, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, taking that.
Yeah.
And I'm sorting it out. And even at 6 a.m. while we're eating breakfast, I'm like, how much do you want it? Am I gonna look back 10, 20 years from now thinking I should have gone up the mountain? I don't have to, because I did.
Yeah.
And I take that and transition into entrepreneurship. You might be scared about starting a business. You might be scared about maybe opening into a new market, or maybe scaling into new areas. But until you do, you won't know.
Yeah.
And I would encourage everybody, just take the risk, because you never know what's going to happen. And it's better to take the risk and not know and be like, okay, it happened or it didn't,
Yeah.
than wonder.
I think everybody has moments in their life where you accomplish something that you may not have ever thought you could, and it changes you forever. And, obviously this was one of those moments for you. For me, it sounds really stupid. This one's going to sound really dumb, but quitting smoking at 25 I remember thinking like I tried to quit like 17 times, dude. Like I wanted to quit. I just couldn't stick to it. Couldn't do it. And when I finally did, the strength in that for me gave me the strength to move up in my life and do something better and basically be a better person than I was before, right? And I would argue too that like starting my business and succeeding at it was also something that gave me a strength. It's like and made me a better person. Like I genuinely think that entrepreneurship makes people better. It just if you are willing to take that risk and that strength and that challenge on, you can't even if you aren't successful, you will still come out a better person than you were when you began.
Oh, 100%. And thanks for sharing that, Kelly. And then it's not a small, silly thing. I mean, smoking, it's a big deal. A
It's
lot of
hard.
people
Yeah.
struggle with quitting smoking, but hey, kudos to you and congratulations for doing that. But that must have been like really tough. And I'm glad that you shared and said you tried 17 times. You kept trying and you eventually did it. And that's another thing too I want to communicate to entrepreneurs or business people. Like you might fail the first time, you might fail the second time. But if you stick long enough with it, you might succeed. Now, what do I mean by that? And I really want to touch back to that point, to that example I talked earlier with that client that we're talking to about those notification business that he eventually, you know what, after validating it, he just shut it up. That's because
Yeah.
he validated it, but he pivoted to something else
Yeah.
because he still wanted, he still thought, okay, maybe not with this specific stream or service or product, but there could be another way for me to, be a small business owner or an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right. And you continue on that path. So that's what I mean by that, right? And like you, maybe you're 17 times as you were trying different ways to quit until you found one that worked for you. But great, now here we are,
Yeah.
so many years later when you're like, yeah, that thing worked. And I would say that's a thing for entrepreneurs. Sometimes you might think it's the first thing or the second or third. I mean, I remember the first business that I ever tried running was an events company when I was 23.
Wow.
And really thinking about it, I'm like, I was doing it because it was a pain point I was experiencing because I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm living at home and I can't hang out with friends and this is learning. And me and my friend were like, yeah, we should really take this idea to the next level. And yeah, and you look back and you're like, no, that took a lot to do. And of course, I mean, he's still one of my close friends, but you can tell that he's not in. He's like, more, it's a cool thing to talk about.
Yeah.
But then when you got to put operations, tasks, strategy, calendar,
Mhm.
start moving the needle forward, you realize, right? But of course, that quickly ended nowhere. But the biggest thing and lesson learned that I learned from that was you don't need a BlackBerry because you're starting out a business because we were just spending money to look quote unquote.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Hey guys, I have a BlackBerry. And yeah, it's just out. And I'm like, this makes me a business. No, it doesn't. Like, why does it do that? No, it doesn't. Like, I'm sorry, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't. It's very easy to spend money.
Mhm.
Very hard to make money.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I want people to really think about this, it's the quicker you're comfortable validating your idea, even if it's not 100% flushed out, even if it's just 60% flushed out, but you're just asking questions, you're trying to validate it. And there's many different ways. I would suggest you use any AI platform, whether that's Grok, ChatGPT, whatever the Google one is. I forgot what it's called, Gemini, I think.
Yeah.
Like put on those prompts and try to figure out a way. And again, the biggest thing for me I see is that it's just quickly validate. Be like, ask it, how can I validate this idea?
Yeah.
Without costing me a lot of money. What's a quick, inexpensive way to validate this? Is it
Yeah.
through social campaign? Is it, that most companies, sometimes not most, but a lot of companies validate products or a potential service by just making a fake button and adding it to the website. And when people click on that, that costs you like what? Okay, so let's think about that. The cost of the developer to write that code or put that button in there, maybe the graphic designer to maybe the color scheme or whatever, but it's
Sure.
already a template or a branding. It's no color associated with it. And maybe the marketing manager or coordinator for the actual name. Do we want to call me, schedule a conversation,
Yeah.
learn more because those things will drive as well clicks. But they'll validate it and test it out. Now,
Yeah.
have you spent money on building that product and the infrastructure behind it? You were just seeing it if the market was interested. And you set a
Mhm.
parameter. And you're like, okay, I'm going to put this link on a Wednesday. And I know that our marketing campaign launched out on Monday. So we're going to get traffic to our website, not about that service, but about just general marketing.
Sure.
And let's say for me to see that this product or service, it's a good metric, and I'm going to make this up. Let's say the metric for me that I'm trying to go look for is a 25% conversion rate. So out of 100 people that come to my website, if I get 25 people clicking on that specific link or that product or service, I'm going to go ahead and build it.
Yeah.
Or start the process. But
Yeah.
if I get less than that, I'm not going to build it. Quick and easy. And you have to feel comfortable making those executive decisions. What
Yeah.
if you get 24? You decided on 25. What's a policy there? And
Yeah.
that's when you really, really test yourself as a leader in your executive team, because it's all about your ability to make those quick executive decisions.
Yeah.
And then move on to the next.
I love that. I love that. And I also love the idea of like testing for marketing stuff, because I think a lot of us are just spending money on advertising, whether it be like Meta ads or Google ads or Facebook or whatever, you name it, LinkedIn, but we're not really sure what it's doing a lot of the time, right? Like that's the kind of downside to these passive marketing strategies, is sometimes it's really hard to tell. It's like, sure, you might get X number of impressions, but the impressions don't matter. And I think people kind of forget about that. It's not about how many people see it. It's about how many people actually engage with it or
No,
find it
exactly.
needed, right?
Now, for example, if your goal is just to generate awareness, so you need impressions, because then it's different. But if your goal is sales, you need engagement, and in many different things, right? So I think people really need to focus on what is their goal and their intent, and kind of work backwards.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's also important to remember that business is done through interaction. So like everything that we do with regards to business development is always to get to a meeting. Because
Yeah.
if we can have a meeting, whether that be a virtual meeting or a face-to-face meeting with another human being, be able to address questions, address challenges, introduce a product or service, actually have a real conversation, a real relationship, that is like way more likely to turn into real revenue for your business at some point than somebody who just saw an ad on LinkedIn and might have even looked at it, or maybe didn't, or maybe scrolled right on by, right?
Exactly. No, exactly. You're right. You're right about that.
Well, one of the questions that I want to have, obviously, working with a lot of startups and having that conversation with them is what type of advice do you give to your startups when you're talking about marketing and actually getting to a customer? Because I think, anybody starting a business, the goal here is to get customers, right? Well, obviously we need brand awareness. That's one part of the strategy, but brand awareness is great, but it also doesn't necessarily turn into revenue. Talk to me. What kind of advice do you give your startups when you're working with them to actually generate sales?
And that's a good question. I would say it depends on their business model. It really depends on the business model. So we gotta look at business models. So is your business model a B2B? Is it a B2C? Is it subscription based? Is it B2G, government, right? And look at that. And then look at your value proposition, look at your product or service, and look who you're targeting at. Majority of the people, I would say they have a problem targeting their product to the right audience. I think they think it's for everybody, and it's not. It's for a very specific amount of people. So that's one. The other thing we want to try to communicate is, let's put in mechanisms in place that can quickly disqualify people.
Yeah.
Because what you don't want is people that are not interested in your product or your service in your feed or in your pipeline, because that's taking away time from you and resources from people that are actually interested in your pipeline. And that's something like, even for us as Catapult, we struggled a little bit at the beginning. For example, we were like, do we put in pricing or very specific information? And we're like, you know what? We have to be upfront with what we're looking for and what we're trying to do. Because at the end of the day, is making sure we talk to the right individuals for the right program, making sure it's the right fit. And same thing for any kind of business, right? So you really need to understand that. So it's looking at your business model, looking at how you're engaging and communicating, looking what your strategy is, but then putting some processes in place when it comes to that. So what do I mean? Let's look at retail. If you're going to do sales in retail, we got to look at your product very specifically and put in some parameters around it. Okay. If it's ice cream, well, ice cream is going to sell itself. It's ice cream. It's more
Yeah.
finding you like a specific location in a corner with foot traffic, go sell your ice cream.
Yeah.
Right. But more what we're doing is, what is a good high traffic area or potential families that might want to buy your ice cream, because your ice cream is, let's say it's healthy. So maybe let's go to an area that has a lot of single families or multi-family or families. And then we're like, okay, based on our assessment, that's this communities in the Southwest and these communities in the Northwest, whatever. We would suggest we go in 2 locations in these areas at these times, because I have a lot of traffic, which will generate some sales for you. But we would also recommend, with you in that space, use the physical location as almost branding and marketing, have a QR code to your website, so that people can have access to your website there. It's almost like a pop-up deck, because again, you don't want to spend $2 to make 50 cents.
No.
What is your return on investment? You want to spend 50 cents and make $2, right?
Absolutely.
That's goal. That's to do. Almost want to have a ratio, but again, it's your return on investment, right? So ideally what we're trying to do when we communicate, that's one example, right? But let's say if it's more a B2B, it's all about how are you engaging with your clients. You gotta talk to your clients. But the biggest thing we notice is that entrepreneurs are scared to talk to their clients. Talk to your clients. Pick up the phone, make a phone call, send them an email, send them a text, engage with your clients. Don't be afraid to talk to your clients. The biggest thing to kind of get the ball rolling when it comes to that, be where they are. Where do you think there will be an opportunity for you to interact with them? Is it at a hockey game? Is it a networking event? It is as a business after hours thing, like, Calgary Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it maybe going to your kid's lacrosse game or hockey game or whatever? Like, where are they spending time at? And then going to those events and meeting those people. But again, it's about talking to your clients. If you're not talking to your clients and you're hoping they'll find you on social media, you got to go directly to them. And the first step is your network. A lot of people don't value their network, and they have a vast network, and it's all structuring in a way that, for lack of a better term, you don't want to sound annoying. You don't want to be bugging them saying, guys, come on, please use my services. You want to come across very professional. And you want to also engage with people from your network that you know that, hey, you know what? This is a potential service that can work for them. Because that's going to create a pipeline. You're going to start having those conversations. And it's going to do two things. One, it's going to get you comfortable talking about your product or service
Yeah.
to potential clients. Even if they're your friends or close your network, right? Or people that your colleagues that you work with, or university students or high school friends, or whatever the case may be. They're going to get you comfortable with your elevator pitch, your selling proposition, your value proposition. The second thing it's going to do, it's going to improve that process. So then when you do meet that real individual, or, it's going to also help you close a sale, because even though they're from your network, you never know who needs your product or your service.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of individuals, and it's kind of funny that we're noticing that usually entrepreneurs tend to know other entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And it's always like, yeah, my friend started this and we've been talking about it for 2 or 3 years and they think I'm ready for it now. So they always know someone that did it first, that helped them validate it, or, mentor them around it. They don't have, of course, the capacity to run another business, but they pick their brain and they're always encouraging that friend, hey, to that he or she person, to go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. It's not, you can ask me questions and things like that, but it's not as scary as it sounds.
Yeah.
And then 2 or 3 years and they're like, okay, I'm ready for this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. The entrepreneurial community is actually quite tight. And you kind of nailed it. Most people don't realize that. But I feel like since I became a business owner, I know more people than I ever have, especially from this show. But even if I hadn't started this show, it's just a community of incredible people. I'm proud to know so many entrepreneurs, because you know what? They really are incredible individuals, every one of them.
No, for sure.
Daniel, I wanted to spend a little bit of time just chatting about how Catapult fits in the Alberta ecosystem, right? Obviously, you work with government, you work with other startup companies. I imagine you also work with, do you work with Edmonton Unlimited or Platform Calgary at all as well?
Yeah, we do.
Talk to me. How does Catapult Startups fit into this ecosystem? Who is it for, and when do people need it?
That's a great question. I would say, Kelly, Catapult, how it fits in the Alberta ecosystem. We see ourselves as an economic catalyst. We see ourselves as job creators and someone that's here to help drive the economy forward. Now, how do we drive the economy forward? We're here to empower, whether it's new Canadians or, we call first generation, or even just people that were born in Canada, Canadians here, and essentially all people that are wanting to either start a startup or a small business, or are looking to scale their small business, so scaling or growing. And essentially, the type of individuals that we work with is when you're a startup or a small business that's just launching, it's someone that understands that, hey, I need help. Because a lot of entrepreneurs aren't going to admit to that. So if an entrepreneur needs help, specifically when it comes to marketing, sales, when it comes to legal, when it comes to accounting and financing, your team, strategy, and your operations, we're there for those. So there's specific 6 areas we focus on, right? So that's marketing and sales, your accounting, your finance, your people, your strategy and operations, your legal, and your accounting and finance. Those 6 areas, very, very specific, okay? Now, within those areas, the one thing we notice in time and time again, if you're starting out, the biggest things you're looking for, and we're noticing, is they're needing help with marketing and sales, and then they're needing help with team building. A lot of And what I mean by team building is that a lot of entrepreneurs come with already a team built, 3 or 5 individuals. Great. And they're looking to scale and grow, but it's at first hire.
Yeah.
It's not part of the C-suite team. That may be trouble. What do I mean by that? They might bring in someone that, they know from the network that's a good individual, but might not be a good fit. And startups need to understand that you stop being a startup the moment you start thinking yourself as an actual business. And to become an actual business, you got to put in policies and processes. And that means your first hire is your first hire. And it's a very important hire because it sets a tone and culture for the company. And when you're hiring, your friends want qualified because you want to give them an opportunity. Are you taking your business seriously? There's nothing wrong with hiring your friend if they're qualified for it.
Yeah.
But if they're not qualified, they don't have a cultural fit, it's going to slow down your business. It needs to be a culture, product, market fit with that individual. Because when you're starting out your company and your business, you're wearing so many hats. And you need to remember that when you bring on somebody, it takes them 6 months to completely get onboarded. So if you bring on somebody and you have to fire them and let them go, you're already 6 months behind. Now you got to hire in somebody new. And they have to learn another 6 months until they're now come to that point. So now you're up to a year. So now you wasted a year because of that hire. And that's what a lot of businesses sometimes forget. So it's really critical that your first hire really drives the business forward. The second thing we look at and where the marketing and sales is pivoting, your segment. Who is it? How are you going about doing it? For example, when it comes to retail and a lot of other manufacturing space, I know that sometimes it can be very attractive to go and work with a broker to try to get some deals with larger big box stores. But what are your margins going to be? 3, 5%? Now, what are your margins online and direct to sale, B2C?
Yeah.
I mean, your margins B2C tend to be, I've heard some margins to be 90%. It's like between 90 and 70%. That's insane.
Yeah.
And now you're going to go down to 3%. Did you associate that cost? Or did you think about that cost decrease, into your sales and into your operation and everything else? Now that you're going with a broker into bigger box stores, and you might say, well, it's volume, Daniel. Okay, but did you do your financial projections? And you'd be surprised how many times they don't. Because they see, oh, it's a contract. It's a Walmart. It's a Sobeys. Oh my God, we made it.
Yeah.
Did you really? Look at the fine print. Really understand the process.
Yes. I think people get disconnected and they see revenue and they think, oh, we just sold, call it $10 million in product, right? But like you said, if you're only making 1% at the end of the day, you might do better to not sell 10 million, to sell, 500, but at a profit.
Exactly. And that's the thing is, right? So now, are you spending resource and time to get the raw materials to deliver that bulk production? Or are you going to maybe spend time and resource engaging with buyers to buy your product?
Yeah.
It's allocation, is understanding that. The third thing I would say about that we do very well now, and this is a partnership that we've done with the federal government and the provincial government here in Alberta and Canada. It's the Elevate IP Alberta program. And the Elevate IP program, it's a program that's done federally through all provinces. So anybody across Canada has access to this. And what it is, it's to inform and educate people, whether you're a startup or a small business. Okay, I'm going to make that very clear. Whether you're a startup or a small business, and you've been operating, let's say, under 10 years, the government, both provincial and federally, we're looking to help you understand IP. What does intellectual property look like? What are patents, copyright, trademarks, trade secrets? What does this mean to you as your business, and how can it help you grow and scale and monetize? What we're noticing is that there's a lot of wonderful businesses that aren't, their IPs, intellectual property, isn't protected. And at first, the idea thought, is this something that was provided to the ecosystem within startups, or small businesses that are just in their first or 2 years? And a lot of them need it because they're understanding, we're providing education, so they're becoming aware of this process and they're putting it into their business plan and their strategy. But what we're also noticing is now existing companies that already been around for under the 8-year mark with a strong financial sheet, they're like, hey, we have IP. We weren't aware that we had an intellectual property. How can we monetize that? And how can we use this now to scale and grow? And that's what we're finding out in the last 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
And that's a really interesting thing, because with everything is going on in the political landscape, with tariffs and everything happening, I feel that there's a real opportunity, especially in Alberta, for these businesses, to really scale and grow. And again, it's just because of the information being available through this program, right? So I would strongly suggest anybody to look into the Elevate IP Alberta program, or in general, wherever you're hearing this across Canada, Elevate IP program. Please Google it. It's a free program by the federal government. It does provide education and funding for you to get an IP for your business. So again, something we recommend. And again, that's for us IP, and you understand how to protect the business in terms of property. There's so many different revenues. So many different revenue streams you have no idea you can open up with. Whether that's subscription based, licensing based,
Yeah.
even helping you with your marketing strategy to go into new markets. There's so many different levels, right? And that's what we're really understanding and pushing here for.
Daniel, how does a company know if they have intellectual property that could be protected? Like, I don't think that's that they necessarily don't want to do it, but they may not even know that this is available to them.
You're right. And that's where we are. We're in the stage that people aren't aware. So what we're currently doing is an awareness campaign to engage with as many people out there to let them know what intellectual property is. So I guess a good first step would be, one, come to our website. We have a video recording that anybody can access. We'll give them information about what the program is. The second thing, too, engage with us, and we can talk, and we can connect you with one of our lawyers, our IP lawyers, and then they can talk to you about, do you have anything that's probably IPable? And it starts by having a conversation. I think there's nothing wrong with having a conversation, and you'd be surprised by the amount of businesses that are like, that's IPable? I wasn't aware of this. Now, I'm not that person. I'm not a lawyer. That's our lawyers team. But that's the first thing I would say. So first step, go to the Elevate IP website, Google it, go to our second step, go to our website, download our video, watch and explain to you what Elevate IP is, the different intellectual properties available. And at the same time, if you want to engage with one of our IP lawyers, please engage with us. More than happy to connect you with that, and they can provide you with let you know, is there an opportunity or is something that it's IPable? And you never know.
Yeah.
And I would encourage everybody to just have a conversation.
Amazing. And I will make sure that both your website links and the Elevate IP links are with this show. So it'll be easy to find. You'll just be able to find it in the show notes.
Perfect.
Daniel, though, we've been talking a lot about Catapult Startups, which is awesome. And I'm happy we were able to do that. But I would also like to dig a little bit into Creative Social. Talk to me. Creative Social is really, I know you said not to say your baby, but it's your baby, right? You've been with it for a long time.
Yeah, I wouldn't say no, because we're actually changing names. Like, we're changing names. So the company's growing. I'm growing to a couple more individuals. That was more like, I would say, a solo project that I was still kind of working on. And I started that about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was my first real forte into entrepreneurship. That's what really helped me grow. And essentially I grew it on my own, from, social media analyst to then all the way going to analyst to implementing systems to understanding systems to then going into sales and marketing. And if I'm going to go into sales and marketing, I'm going to go into inventory because I want to know what I'm selling or behind that system. And then I'm going to go into inventory. We started going into strategy behind that. And then eventually leading to government relations. So all three levels, federal, provincial, and municipal. So over the last 13 years or 16 or 15 years, however as long it's been, it's giving me a nice, rounded, I guess, experience of the different kind of industries and the different departments that a business has to do to run properly and grow and scale. But for me, the biggest lesson learned is that if you want to go fast, you go alone and you go nowhere. I was going fast, but I was going alone and nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go far, and the keyword is far, you go as a team. And now that I have a team, I'm going very far. And same with Catapult. It's a team-based organization, right? And I think that was a big, big key thing for me. It's knowing that, Daniel, you don't have all the answers, and that's okay. Put the ego aside. Yeah. I am comfortable now not being the smartest person in the room. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yes, that's
My
right.
team has to be smarter than me because they got to advise me and I got to pick the best decision out there.
Right.
But if I'm going to be hiring people that are not as smart as me, like, I'm doing a bad job. So I love working with my team. My team is incredibly smart, brilliant individuals, way smarter than me, that gave me great advice, whatever we're trying to do and whatever many different industries that we're trying to work in on. We're industry agnostic, but yeah, it's on your team. And that's the one thing too I would say is that's the biggest lesson that I learned from Creative Social. It's the ego gets in the way because you're thinking you can do everything. And then you start thinking, well, if I share my revenue, but then you don't understand that you're going to be able to get 2 contracts and 3 and 4 and getting, smaller pie, quote unquote, of 10 pies. It's bigger than getting the whole pie of one pie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So talk to me then. Who are the ideal customers? Actually, break it down because we are talking about both. Talk about Catapult Startups and who the ideal customers would be for Catapult Startups. And then lead me into Creative Social and who maybe the ideal customers are for that. So if there are people listening to this, they can reach out to you after.
Yeah, for sure. So I would say for Catapult Startups, for startups looking to, are launching out under 3 years, I would say anybody that's looking to get help in navigating the ecosystem, that has already needing help with building an MVP or is looking for investments and has a nice, healthy budget of, I would say, around anywhere between $7,500 and $10,000. Okay, that you have to have a budget aside because you need to have some kind of budget in order to scale. That's one. If you're a small business, I would say it depends. A small business, if the biggest thing is if you're looking to grow and scale, if you're growing and scaling within the agricultural, manufacturing, retail side of things, we want to talk to you. We love working with you and we know how to scale and grow you. The biggest thing here that we're trying to, the right customer for us for small business, and I would say they're looking to grow and scale. They're that low mid-market business that wants to go above the $5 million mark. So if you're looking to go above the $5 million mark, or let's say now you're 15 million, and you're looking to go above 15 million, the next stage of
Yeah.
your business, comment on to us. That's the right fit for what we're doing here in the programs and services that we have. For Creative Social, that we're more focused on implementing now system implementation, and I would say more on automation. So very specifically wanting manufacturing, supply chain, and logistical companies.
Okay. Perfect. Daniel, we're talking to a lot of young entrepreneurs, maybe people that haven't taken that jump, dude. And, you're a serial entrepreneur. You're an exceptional serial entrepreneur. You've lived with a disability and accomplished so much. I don't have a lot of people come on this show who can speak to other people who maybe are struggling with disability. And I would love for you to speak to them because guaranteed we have listeners around the world who are struggling with different types of disabilities and maybe wondering if they can accomplish. And, you're living proof that not only can you accomplish, you can sky high excel.
No, thanks. I appreciate that, Kelly. I really do. What I would have to say to them, it's make your weakness your strength. It's not a weakness, it's a strength. And what do I mean by that? So I have one leg and one arm. And when I was little, I would, it would get singled out. I would stick out like a sore thumb. And I'm like, why am I sticking out like a sore thumb? I don't want to stick out. I want to be like everybody else. What I realized though, is that the older I got and the more I got into business, the more that became a superpower because it takes 7 points of contact for someone to remember your name. And for me, it only takes them one. And in business, that's half the battle. If someone remembers who you are, you're 50% there. So whenever I meet somebody, now instead of being like, oh my God, no, I'm Daniel, one arm and one leg, and I'm like, great, you're going to remember me off the bat. And we're going to be able to have a second conversation, more focused about a possible project or sales that we can work together on. But that comes from turning that weakness into a strength. I know it's going to sound a little bit corny, but it's like, why try to blend in when you were meant to stand out? You were meant to shine. So I use that as a strength now, right? And then, I'm not going to lie. Like sometimes I feel like I'm getting maybe too much attention and it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. But at the same time, I know that that's the superpower that's going to help me close deals a lot quicker because I don't have to spend those 7 points of contact with a client or a potential client before they even trust me. It's that first meeting, initial conversation, trust is built because they remember you. So then the next conversation you're having, it's now more fruitful conversation. So anybody dealing with any disability or barriers, whether it's a physical disability or mental disability, the biggest advice I can give you is don't give up. Really, really focus on your internally, on what is your internal strength. And focus on the things that bring you joy because that little things that bring you joy is also gonna, it's a kind of a domino effect into the things that you want to do that maybe you're thinking, can I do this? I don't know. What do I mean by that? Okay, so I'm gonna take a very normal kind of normal kind of example. Video games. A lot of people play video games. I play video games. Even with my one hand, I figured out how to play video games with one controller. Not a special controller, like a normal standard controller. Okay. But playing video games brings me a little bit of joy. It makes me happy. And I get a little excited. And when I beat a level or do something like that, then I'll go, yeah, okay, good for me. Now I take that emotion and I'm like, I was able to do something with my one arm that most people think couldn't do because, oh, how can a person with one arm play a video game? And
Hmm.
then I take that little approach that I'm okay, well, it took me a little bit to figure out how to put the controller between my legs so then I can hold it and then put my fingers on top of it to then manage it to figure out a different way to get the outcome that I was looking for, which is to play the video game.
Yeah.
Now I take that same approach when I'm doing something different. So I know that if I'm going to an event, maybe I need to prepare differently than somebody else that's more able to move around. But I take the same approach. It's okay, I know it's going to take me a little longer, but I'm still going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just pushing through. And I know at first it's going to feel a little uncomfortable pushing through and maybe doing things differently than somebody else that's able or doesn't have a disability is able to do. But what you will get, so you will feel a little awkward during the process. But once the process is done, you'll feel amazing. Like you just on top of a mountain, even if it's as simple as tying your shoes.
Yeah.
Again, I don't understand the level of mobility and what you can and cannot do. But just because doesn't mean you can't tie your shoes doesn't mean you have a wonderful brain with an incredible IQ that I
Yeah.
would love to engage with and talk to. That you can provide a lot of value to a company.
I love when you talked about basically you're not going to let the fact that you have one arm stop you from enjoying video games, right? And
Exactly.
I guess, I love that because I mean, obviously I'm a gamer. I grew up in that time. I think on occasion I still enjoy a game of Call of Duty, although I'm getting my butt kicked by the 12-year-olds these days.
It
But
happens. They're young.
I'm
it's
not
their
gonna lie.
area. You know.
I am not teenage Kelly anymore. I don't quite got the same speed I once had, but I love that because I look at it from that standpoint of if you're not going to let that hold you back, there's certain things in business that maybe would really like kick someone on their butt. But it's like, if you have to have that level of resilience to be able to take that on, it's nothing but a gigantic advantage in a playground that's naturally hard, like business, right?
Exactly. And just to put a bit more in context, when people ask me what's the hardest thing you've done, learn how to walk at 6. After that, it's a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Like literally, and literally think about this. Okay, I had to learn how to walk at 6 by holding my own pants. I was holding my pants and taking one step at a time. So I was
Wow.
literally holding myself. I was moving forward. I don't know. That's a bigger metaphor for life than that. That I was literally holding myself to push myself forward. So I wasn't holding into a railing. I was
Yeah.
literally holding down to my each pants and moving one leg at a time to learn to walk.
Wow. Wow.
But I think that I learned that's once you learn that skill. So anybody dealing with a disability or a barrier, once you go overcome it, it's your superpower because I don't wish what I went through to any enemies or anybody or ill people, anyone that I don't like. I don't wouldn't want that. And a lot of the times people ask me like, how do you get out of bed? I'm like, I just get out of bed. But I know that they're asking essentially, I don't think they could get out of bed if they were dealing with what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people that are dealing with a disability right now, I want you to give yourself a pat on the back and be like, hey, you're here. And that's courage. That takes a lot. Some people just can't deal with having a disability and it's tough and they would shut down. And if you're listening to this and you're trying out there and you're engaging with people, keep going, man. Keep going. I mean, hey, I'm I'm married and I have a kid on the way. Those are things that I thought would never happen. And if I'm being honest, right? So, but again, I never gave up. I pivoted the way I was communicating, learning, engaging, and you find your way, right? It's like you were saying, Kelly, took you 70 times to quit smoking,
Yeah.
but you figure out how to do it, and now look at you.
That's
You're
right.
just flying.
That's right. That's right. Everything that you overcome, every hurdle in your life that you overcome, my God, does it make you stronger. And I didn't it took me a long time in my life to realize the little moments that made me stronger. And at the time I was pissed because they were sucky and they hurt and they were hard, but they made me who I am today. And so I learn now to be grateful for the hard times because the hard times make me a better person.
And another thing too about that, hard times make good times. Good times make for hard times. Think about that. Just think about that.
It's a crappy cycle.
It is. But the harder of a life you have, you know you're gonna have a good life later. And it is how it is. That you reap the fruit of your labors.
That's right. That's right. Everything worth doing is hard. That's something that I kind of realized a long time ago, right? If it's handed to you, you don't appreciate it. But
No.
if you work for it, it tastes so much sweeter.
Exactly.
Daniel, this has been an absolutely incredible show. You're an incredible individual. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thank you, Kelly. I had a great time on the show. It's a pleasure. And please hope you to have me back anytime. And hopefully we can have this quicker than a year in between conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this next year, who knows what it holds for us Canadians, but you know what? I have a good feeling about it. I think we're going to be just fine.
They're going to be okay too as well. I have a pretty good feeling as well.
Until next time, this has been episode 294 of the Business Development Podcast, and we will catch you on the flip side.
This has been the Business Development Podcast with Kelly Kennedy. Kelly has 15 years in sales and business development experience within the Alberta oil and gas industry and founded his own business development firm in 2020. His passion and his specialization is in customer relationship generation and business development. The show is brought to you by Capital Business Development, your business development specialists. For more, we invite you to the website at www.capitalbd.ca. See you next time on the Business Development Podcast.
Hey, rock stars, if your fab shop's overwhelmed or your supplier's missing deadlines, that's not just frustrating, it's costing you real money. That's why you call HyperFab. Based in Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada, and trusted across North America, they deliver custom metal fabrication for industries where precision and speed matter most. Construction, oil and gas, manufacturing, and agriculture. From fiber laser cutting and CNC bending to welding, assembly, and finishing, they do it all in-house with fast turnarounds, tight tolerances, and no handoffs. One prototype, full production, no problem. HyperFab shows up when others can't and delivers when others don't. Head to www.hyperfab.com or call Colin Harms at 1-403-308-3308. Fabrication without compromise. That's the HyperFab edge.